Hey everyone, I hope you are having a wonderful day so far. I am just dropping this special little clip into all the episodes. So, no matter what episode you're listening to, this is actually pretty current as of July 2024. I wanted to come on here and just say a big thank you to Earworthy because the Life Shift podcast was just named the best overall podcast of the year in the first Earworthy Independent Podcast Awards. And you've probably seen some articles written about the Life Shift podcast before, written by Earworthy. And now he is launching from his online publication, he is launching these yearly winners of independent podcast awards. And these are specifically for indie podcasters. We are those that wear all the hats. We create the show. Some people write the show. We're producers, sound engineers. We troubleshoot all the tech. We do any kind of research if we need to. We host the shows. We distribute the shows. We do all the things that relate to our shows because we love it. And it's so nice to see my name in a list with some other amazing podcasts like Multispective, which won Best Life Lessons Podcast. Salad with a Side of Fries won Best Health Podcast. Bippity Boppity Business won Best Business Advice Podcast. And there are so many more. And so I just want to come on here and say thank you to Earworthy for not only doing these awards every year and just honoring some of us indie podcasters that sometimes feel like we're just shouting into the void, but we're not. We're just doing what brings us joy, and hopefully through that work it brings other people joy. In my case, for the Life Shift, I hope that each episode finds the ears that needed to hear it the most so that they feel a little less alone in their circumstance. But also, Earworthy writes all these amazing publications pretty much weekly, every week, every weekday, I should say, where he writes on Blogger, Medium, Substack, Tumblr, Vocal, Many Stories, and for other places. And he really just highlights the independent podcasters. So thank you, Frank, for everything you do with Earworthy and for recognizing all of us in the first Earworthy Independent Podcast Awards. If you'd like to read more, please head to medium.com/EAR hyphen WORTHY. Thanks again and enjoy this episode. I'm Matt Gilhooly, and this is The Life Shift, candid conversations about the pivotal moments that changed lives forever. Hello, my friend. Thank you for joining me, Christin.
Hi.
As you know, we are, well, you're part of this, sharing your story for the Life Shift podcast. And my goal is really to talk to people about these pivotal moments that kind of changed everything in their life. And you have a story, and I think it's an important story. And so I wanted to bring you on here and have a little chat about that. But first, we've known each other for 100 years.
103.
So 2008, and we're now in 2022.
Yes.
So that's a long time.
So if we could do math, it's a long time.
And we both used to work at a college in Orlando, and we taught students in entertainment type courses. And we didn't actually work in the same department.
No, but we saw each other a lot. I mean, our departments were like
on the other side of the wall.
Siamese twins. Like we were right. Yeah, we were right there. Yeah. I would run into your space and bother you daily.
Well, speaking of it, I mean, why did you leave? Or where did you go? Or how did you get where you are right now?
So when we were working together, we were in Florida, and very long story short, I was tired of living in Florida, so I left. I moved to Austin, Texas in 2011 for a variety of reasons. I mean, that would probably be the first step of my whole life shift. But I moved to Austin. That's where I met my now husband. I was telling you earlier, we actually met on OkCupid, and we went out on our first date and realized that he lived in the neighborhood across the street from my apartment complex.
Perfect.
Yeah, we were like a minute and a half away from each other, and our circle of friends intersected in so many different ways that it didn't it made no sense that we hadn't met already in passing. You know, we knew so many of the same people. It was ridiculous. But I was working from home. So I didn't get out. I didn't have coworkers or anything. And I would go, I call myself an extroverted introvert. Like,
I would agree with
I'm
that.
fine in front of people. I can lead well. I'm not intimidated by being around a large group of people, but I would much rather just like be at home and do my own thing and be a homebody. And so living in Austin, I didn't know anyone there. I was working from home, and I would like be like, okay, I'm gonna go meet people. I'd go out to a bar and I'd order myself, likely something very dark beer. And then I'd look around and I'm like, okay. And I'd like look around and I'd feel so intimidated. I'm like, I'm not just going to go up to random people and introduce myself. So I would just sit at the bar with my dark beer and my yarn, and I would knit, and no one would talk to me. And I would finish my beer and I would go home.
So maybe that's why you didn't meet him until you went on an app.
That is not the best way to meet people, I will say. Yeah. So yeah, it took a nap.
Yeah. So you were in Austin. What were you doing in Austin for work?
I had started off as a business consultant right out of my master's program. And then the position that I had filled was no longer being filled. And so that's how I ended up at the college that you and I were at.
Right.
And then it was such a weird thing. When I decided I was leaving Florida, I had put in my notice and I was like, I'm just going to go. I had savings. I was like, I'm just going to move and figure it out when I get to Austin. The consulting company just out of the blue reached back out to me and said like, hey, we've restructured. We want you to come back as like a senior vice president and create these new products and stuff for us and help us with this whole new project that we're doing. And I said, well, that's great, but I'm moving to Austin. And they were back in Florida too. And they said, oh, well, okay, let us think about that. And then they called me back a week later and they're like, okay, like you can move to Austin and you can work virtually for us. So I have been a virtual employee since 2011.
Wow.
Like I've been working from home for 11 years. And I'm not still with them. I worked for them until 2014, I think, which kind of ties into this whole theme that we're talking about. So I met my now husband in 2013. He had gone back to school. And our plan was, you know how plans are, best laid plans and everything. Yeah. Our plans were, he was going to graduate in 2014 and we were going to move back to where he's from, which is Dallas area, DFW. And he was going to get a job back at the IT industry. He had already had like a decade of experience in the IT industry. So he wanted to get back into that. That's where his passion was. And I was going to continue working for this consulting company. The first shift that happened was my dad called, and he had a business that's like an emergency preparedness service company, and he had this company for years, and he needed someone to take it over. My mom had been diagnosed with kidney disease a few years back, and she had surgeries and stuff, and she really wasn't doing well. We all knew at that point that unless like a true miracle happened and she found like the perfect donor, unless that happened, her disease was turning terminal. And my dad was spending time trying to take care of her and take care of my grandparents and then run this business. And he needed someone to take something off his hands. And at the time, I was still in Texas. And so I was like, I can run the company from here. I can do that.
Right. Where were they?
They were in Louisiana, North Louisiana. Yeah. And so I did that. I quit my consulting job and I didn't start as owner. I started as like president. I forget. We made up a title, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But, the rest of our plan kind of came to fruition. My husband graduated. We got engaged. We were engaged before that, but we moved back to DFW area. He got a job in back in IT, and it's like, okay, this is our plan. This is what we're gonna do. Everything was horrible.
Didn't work out.
No, it was terrible. We were about 4 hours from my parents. So my husband, the job that he had gotten was with a company he had worked with before and had lots of contacts, but they put him in this overnight shift. So he was working overnights, and 4 days out of the week, I was driving to Louisiana and staying
Oh, wow.
here, because this is where we ended up, running the company and then taking mom to all her doctor's appointments. And then I would drive back and spend the weekend with my then fiance. And he was exhausted and I was exhausted, and our times were completely off. Like, we basically, for almost 9 months, we didn't see each other.
Right. You were together in name only.
Yeah, yeah. And we had, like, we were supposed to be planning a wedding.
Right.
Nothing was happening, and we were having, when we did have conversations, which very rarely happened because we barely saw each other, it was like, the putting out fires conversations, like, crap, we need whatever, we got to call the landlord for this, or we're out of eggs. And then it was, like, what are we doing? Like, we we never see each other. This was supposed to be our plan, and it's not happening. So this house that I'm in was built by my grandfather in 1966 in North Louisiana. So where my dad was living, he had built his own cabin on what used to be actually my great grandparents' property out here in rural North Louisiana. It's actually, like, outside of a village.
Oh,
The
wow.
village has 130 people. That's the census, 130. And we are outside of the village, which is ridiculous.
But amazing.
It is, yeah. At the time, my grandparents had both moved to the nursing home. My grandfather had some health issues. My grandmother had broke her hip, and so they were both in the same nursing home. This house was vacant. My dad was spending his time, like, going to the nursing home to check in on them, helping to take care of my mom. I was coming into town 4 days a week to take mom to doctor's offices and then going back. And my pop always said, like, hey, the house is vacant. Like, your grandparents' house is vacant. You always have a place if you guys ever wanted to come out here.
Right.
And I'm like, no, we would never.
That's not part of the plan.
Do that. No, that's not part of the plan.
Got to stick to it.
Yeah. And that's how I am. I like a plan. I like progress. I like timelines. I like to-do lists. Check, check, check. And you're done. You accomplish something.
Yeah. Life doesn't always work out that way, does it?
No. I think that is, like, the biggest lesson of the last freaking 15 years is that life doesn't care about your plans or your checklists or anything else. So I will never forget this. It was about 7:00 in the morning, the beginning of March of 2015. And my husband fiance at the time, had just come home from work. So, it's like 7:10 in the morning. He brings coffee. He comes in through the garage, and I'm in the kitchen. And I have this look on my face, and I'm assuming I probably looked, like, forlorn, like, upset about something. He immediately knew something was wrong. And it was less that something was wrong, but more that, like, something has to change right now.
Right.
And so we sat down, and I said, this is going to sound crazy, but what if you quit your job and we pick up all of our stuff and we move to Louisiana? Like, I'm already working the job running the company. Like, I'm making an income. The house is already paid for. Like, there's no mortgage.
Right.
Where this is a very low cost of living. I would be closer to mom, who's not doing well. I could run the company much more easily being right there. You wouldn't be working overnights. He had a really scary, we think it was like a mini stroke, like a couple weeks before, where he had come home and, like, had this crazy tunnel vision. And he said it was like really bright circle and then darkness everywhere else. And he had to sit down it was really scary.
Yeah.
And we did not send him to the doctor. I don't know why. But it was like everything was pointing at what we're trying to do and make happen isn't happening.
Right.
It's not working. So we talked for like an hour, about what would he do, which the answer was at the time, we'll figure it out.
Right.
That's kind of what we decided was, like, this isn't working. Let's just quit. Let's just stop. Let's just stop this. I know this was the plan, and we tried. It's not like we didn't try. We did try, but it didn't work out. Let's just give it up and move. And so we did. I called my dad and I said, we're going to move out there next month. And he's like, come on, immediately, come on. So we accidentally moved on April Fool's Day of 2015. Yes. And we hadn't told anyone this was happening, A, because we knew everyone would tell us that we were crazy,
Right.
and B, because it was like, we didn't really have time. Like, he put in his notice at work. I was still driving out here 4 days a week.
Right.
So he was working overnights, and then he'd come home and pack up stuff. We had dogs, we had cats. There was a lot of stuff to, like, figure out. So there was like 4 of our friends who knew, and that was it. So when we got here on April 1st, we posted on Facebook like a picture of our moving truck in our front yard. Everyone thought we were joking. Oh, haha, April Fools. And we're like, oh.
Thank you, social media.
No, right. We're like, we didn't
Right.
think about it.
Because why would you move to rural Louisiana, right?
And quit your job. And yeah, I mean, it's like, it made no sense to anyone. And
that's an interesting point, because I think a lot of people, so far, you've talked about 2 shifts that involve abandoning plans and going with your gut and following through. And I think we're going to get to a point where that actually works, for you. It worked for you in Austin and then going here. So I think it's important to just point that out. I've done the same thing. I've left jobs because they didn't feel right. And I just moved. And I said, you know what? Things will work out. However they do, they will. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So April 1st, 2015, you move into your grandparents' house.
I'll just kind of flash forward. We thought we were going to come out here and help, to take care of my grandparents who were in the nursing home, take care of my mom. And between April of 2015 and March of 2017, so just about 2 years, let's see. First, my grandfather died. Then my mom died. She died August of that year. We had already sent out invitations for our wedding November 1st.
Of the same
year. And of that year. And I said, we're not postponing. So we got married. We had our wedding. We immediately got pregnant, which was, again, not the plan. I was on birth control, but it was like, okay, we're doing this now.
Life has a plan.
Life has a plan. We built his mom a house out here on our property which enabled her to retire, and she moved out here. We had our baby, Oliver, in August of 2016. Then the following January, my grandmother died. And then 6 weeks later, my dad died.
Wow.
So it was March of 2017. We had a 6-month-old. We were first-time parents. Everyone that we had moved out here for was gone.
Right.
And we inherited everything. And I say inherited, like we already owned it all, but we didn't have any safety net. Pop never stopped working a day in his life. So we always had him as backup. And we always had him, like he was the expert. He was the expert business owner. He was the expert of what the business does. And he was the expert of this whole property and taking care of crap and running the tractor. And it was all gone.
Right.
All of it was gone.
Right. And there you are.
And here we are in the middle of nowhere.
Talk about a complete change in your life. Well, multiple in a row.
Any of those situations is life-altering.
Right.
Having a baby is life-changing. Having a parent die is life-changing. Getting married is life-changing. Moving from the city where we had Fios internet and craziness to out in the middle of nowhere where there's cows and satellite internet.
Right.
Crazy. Like there were no IT opportunities for my husband. Like it was again, we had a plan, and in this way, the rug was completely yanked out from under us. And to say that we were in a tailspin doesn't even quite describe it, because when you're in a tailspin, you can feel it. It was so much had happened so fast. And then we had a 6-month-old baby also to be taken care of, that we didn't even know we were in shock. It's easy to look back now and say, clearly we were in shock. There's like probably 6 months that almost all of 2017 is a blurry fog. Like,
right. Because even
we
just
were
like,
just in,
yeah, like you said, just one of those deaths or
mhm.
pivotal changes in your life could put someone in that fog. I can't imagine all of that at once or in that short period of
Yeah.
time. So you were feeling a little spirally, I guess, and you were,
Yeah.
what did
Well,
that lead to? Did
we
you,
were in survival
okay,
mode, and so for a while there, that's it. It was just surviving. It was feed the baby. It
right.
was keep the company running so we can pay our bills. My husband had actually had like found a job as an IT manager for an accounting company,
Mm,
and within a few months of pop passing, we decided that it was too difficult for him not to be. I was trying to do everything on my own with a 6-month-old and
right.
property and then a business to manage and everything. And so again, my husband quit his job
Yeah.
because I needed him here. I
Mm-hmm.
needed him here to help manage things. Once we came out of like the shock and the blur, everything we had experienced started affecting us, some in positive ways, but honestly in a lot of negative ways. My husband and I, we had a really difficult time. We were arguing all the time. We weren't managing our grief well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pulling out fears that I didn't know I had. And for my husband, pulling out trauma that he had experienced as a young child. It got really bad before it started to get better. But because we are, both my husband and I are very at our core stubborn people, it's like we're gonna make something work.
Right.
You know, it we didn't take this bad time as being like everything is awful and it's always gonna be awful. It was more like everything is awful. We
Right
have
now.
to do something different right now. Exactly.
It also sounds like you guys have communication skills with each other as well. Just to, like in your example of sitting down to say, let's just move. We need to go. You need to quit your job. This is a lot of people can't have those conversations. I think they're afraid of the response or are you crazy kind of,
Mm-hmm.
like those kind of things. So, I guess in a way, even though you
They're
guys were,
hard.
yeah, I mean, even though you were fighting and whatnot, it's probably a good thing that you were able to fight in a way that maybe was productive, or was it?
I mean, not the fights themselves, no. But I think what it did was it made us, on an individual basis, like after the fact, be like, okay, that what is happening right now, I'm not happy with, and I'm sure he's not happy with it. And we can focus on the hurt and I can't believe you did this, or I can't believe you keep doing this, or whatever it is, the blame game.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can say, the two of us don't have the answers to this problem, which is what ended up happening. Was it was like, what I'm doing isn't working and what you're doing isn't working, and what we are trying to do right now isn't working. We need help.
Right.
And therapy, we just opened the door, and we had both individually had seen therapists for various reasons throughout our adulthood. But this was a big, like, we need a couples therapist, we need individual
Mm-hmm.
therapists. Like, I'm grieving the death of my entire family.
Right.
He has trauma that's being resurfaced. And then the two of us need to find tools to communicate with one another so that we're not just reacting from a place of hurt, but we can validate one another and try to approach things as a team, as opposed to being opponents.
Right.
Because we're both going through this and we have a little one to take care of, and he doesn't need to be seeing mommy and daddy fight all the time.
And there's a lot of guilt that probably comes with that as a mother too,
Oh
right?
my gosh.
Because you want to be
Guilt.
that quote unquote stereotypical mother
Mhm.
figure that's, happy go lucky for your child, and you can't because you need to solve yourself.
Yeah. And also just understanding that perfection is make believe.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
there is no such thing as perfection. And, you know, having radical acceptance for yourself is like step one,
Mhm.
which is embracing your own crap and
Mhm.
being and knowing that you can always learn and grow and improve, but don't beat yourself up for the crap that you've done, the mistakes that you make. That's not the point. If you're beating yourself up over it, then you're not growing from it.
Right.
You're not learning from it because you're living in the past.
Yeah, or you're kind of creating excuses or reasonings or crutches, if you will. And I think to
Yeah.
your point, that acceptance is also just like part of self-awareness, to know that it's okay that you're not okay, but you need to find ways that work for you to be okay. So I think it's so great that you guys
Yeah.
sought out that therapy, because I think there's a stigma for some reason with therapy, and it's like, no, you can't be everything. Like, I'm not a doctor, so I can't solve, like, if I cut my hand open, I need stitches. I'm not going to do it myself. I'm going to go to someone that knows how to do
Or a
it.
mechanic. Yeah, my car is going to break down and
Right.
I know how to pop open the hood.
That's it.
I'm going to throw some glitter on it. Let's poof,
Right.
magic fix yourself. Yeah.
The therapy, I mean, did that start leading you towards
Yeah.
a better place?
So, I mean, it did. And I will say, like, I wish I could carry a flag around that says therapy is for everyone
Mm-hmm.
and therapy is for any time. It's not just when you're going through crap.
Yep.
We still see our marriage therapist and our individual therapist when we feel like we need to.
Yeah.
And it could be something's going wrong, or it could be I just need to feel something out. I need to talk something out. But yeah, I mean, therapy is always appropriate. And it doesn't matter if you're going through something difficult, or if you're just, you want something to challenge yourself, or you want someone to talk something through that you're trying to figure out, and they're an unbiased person. It's not your loved one. It's not your mom. It's
Right.
not your sister. It's not a friend who's known you forever.
Yeah. I feel like, having gone through, the grieving process multiple times in my life, I haven't shared that yet on this podcast, but I probably plan to. But I feel like the seeking out a therapist, it really starts back at that self-awareness piece, but you also have to be ready, right? And you have to understand that you are at a place in which you need to be open to what an unbiased individual can possibly help you with. And I think it's important to note, for anyone listening that's gone through similar things, is that you need to find the right therapist as well, right? So just because
100%.
Right. I mean, I myself went through like 5 or so before I found the one that connected. And I can't tell you why that person was better than someone else, but
it's just like anything else.
Right.
Yeah, it's like an employer or a teacher or a best friend. It changes as you change, and it changes based on your needs. I mean, my husband and I, we have probably seen 4 different marriage counselors. And none of them were bad.
Right.
They were all good for what they did. And then we switched to someone different, and they all gave us different strengths. I have seen 4 or 5 different individual therapists. Same with him. And again, no one was bad, but it's just like anything else. I mean, apply it to reading a book for English Lit and having a professor guide you on how to read that book and how to interpret what the author is saying. You may get something out of it as a junior in high school. And I'm visualizing when we read Hamlet for the first time as a junior in high school. And I can't remember my English teacher, but I can't remember what her name is. But, she taught it in a certain way, and I got certain pieces of information out of it.
Right.
And then 5 years later in undergrad, I'm going through it with Professor Harwood, and we're reading Hamlet, and it's like it's a completely different novel to me, or a completely different play, because I'm at a different point in my life. Yeah, the content's the same, the words are the same, but I have a different professor, someone leading me through it differently.
Right.
And I'm somewhere different where I'm going to understand and interpret it in a completely different way. And that's what I feel like therapy and therapists are so beneficial because the content is the stuff in your brain and the interactions that you have and how you feel about those interactions. And all the therapist is doing is helping guide you through processing what you're interpreting and
Right.
how you're interpreting it and why you're interpreting it in that way and why you apply so much meaning to something in this way but less meaning to something this, and how maybe you can change the way you think about it or don't. Just understand why you think that way a little bit better, or why someone else might think something differently.
Right. And I think that a lot of people that don't go to a therapist, they think that if they do, that person, or when they choose to, that person is going to just give them the solution to their life and it's going to be all set up. And it's not that. It's like you said, it's just someone helping you unpack what's happening up here and then place it in the places that you feel that they best belong. I just think it's so mature of the two of you to have this conversation like, look, we don't have the solutions and we're going to find someone that can help us unpack this and speak to each other in a productive way that we can move past this, because, you know, we all come with crap.
Right. Yeah. And for us too, I think, and I'm definitely guilty about this, it was giving ourselves and giving each other the space and the patience to have the time, you know? Like I very much, I don't like bad. I was just about to say I don't like bad feelings, and that is wrong because feelings aren't bad.
Right.
But I don't like feelings that make me feel icky. I don't like to feel sad. I don't like feeling angry. I hate grief. And so I want to, like, when I feel them, I want to push past it quickly. That is how I have always,
While still processing it, right?
yeah, I mean, it'll still be kind of percolating in the back of my mind, but I don't like to dwell in an icky feeling. And that isn't always healthy, because sometimes what that means is I'm avoiding the thing as opposed to actually just processing it. And B, that's not how other people process things. You know, my husband very much needs to take his time through a thing. If he's feeling what something to me is an icky feeling, he's going to be in it for a bit. And I have to allow him to have that time. You know, a part of what we were going through was we had different expectations of what the other should be, how quickly they should be processing things, or how quickly they should be over being upset about something or not upset about something, or, you know, how are you already over this? It must not have been that important to you.
Right.
You know, all of these judgments, because based on what you normally do, and it's like, it has nothing to do with you. And just because you do it that way doesn't mean that someone else can't do it differently, and that's just how they process.
Yeah.
That's how they work through
I mean,
things.
speaking of just grief in general, like some people, like I've had two big grief moments in my life, and I approached both of them differently because of where I was in my life. One, I was a kid, and that one, my grieving process was literally like 20 years. And then when the second one happened, I was like, no, I was like you. I was like, let's get this over. And I'm going to go through it. And I'm going to go through it fast. And I'm going to go through it hard. And I'm going to fall on my face. And then I will be done with that and move past to the thing. So it's so different for so many people. And I think in society, we're like, oh, you can be sad for this amount of time and you can let it affect you for this long and then go on. But that's not real. That's
not how it works.
But until you're in it, you don't know. Like, you can't.
Until you're in it, you don't know. And it's like anything else. Until you're a parent, you don't know what that's like. Until you're a business owner, you just don't know. You don't know because you haven't experienced it. And again, that's why therapy and support groups, I'm in support groups too. That's why those are so important, because you're talking to people who actually are on the same level playing field as you. They have experienced the things that you're experiencing. Right. So they're not talking at you from a point of, I can sympathize. I can put myself in your shoes and think about how you might feel. No, they've actually been there, you know.
It's an understanding versus like a pity or like, oh, I feel so bad for you, or oh, it must be so tough being you. But rather like, I know what you're going through and here's what I did.
I'll give you a perfect example. After everyone had passed, my sister had had an experience where she was interacting with a couple that had been a friend of my parents. So they were a little bit younger than my parents, but neither this husband or wife had experienced the loss of their parents, you know. So here my sister is in her, you know, early 30s, having lost her grandparents and her mom and her dad, meeting with this, you know, middle-aged couple who were friends with my parents, and they hadn't had any grief like that. And my sister had said something to the effect of, I'm still pissed off at Pop that he left when he did. Like,
She's still
and the
grieving,
fact that
yeah.
she's still grieving, yeah, and she was still angry. You know, there was so
Mm-hmm.
much that she and Pop had plans for, because Mom had just died a year before, and she and Pop were going to do things, and she was like, I'm still pissed. Like, I'm pissed off that
Right.
he's gone. This woman that my sister was speaking to got angry at my sister for feeling angry. Like, she couldn't understand. She's like,
Right.
why would you say that? I can't believe you would say that you're angry at your father. He died. You know, you shouldn't be mad at him. And my sister was upset by it and called me, and I said, I commiserated with her, and I said, honey, she doesn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Her parents haven't died.
Right.
She doesn't understand. It's totally normal and okay to be mad that they're gone, and to feel, and to be
Any
like,
feeling.
what the hell? What? Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I said, but she doesn't understand.
It's okay to laugh. It's okay to feel whatever you're
Yes.
feeling. But I think it's so important that you
All
honor
feelings are okay.
it. Right. Just like
Yeah.
honor where you are. And then when you're
Mhm.
ready, that next step will come. But, you know,
Yes.
society is crazy.
And it
I'm glad
it
we're on the
is.
same
I mean,
wavelength.
well, and what I was going to say is, because I was thinking about this the other day when, you know, we were kind of chatting about this and what we were talking about and whatever. And I've talked about this with my husband too. It was like, what we went through in those 2 years was insanity, and so much shock and craziness. And we felt like the rug had been pulled out from under us. But what happened as a result was a whole bunch of therapy, a whole bunch of growth, a whole bunch of acceptance of ourselves as individuals and of each other and of our situation. And it's like, we felt like we were getting into our groove,
Mm-hmm.
and then COVID happened.
Right.
And that threw us for a completely different kind of tailspin. The company that I was running, we had a lot of hardship because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it did a big mental toll on both of us as a couple and individually. But if we had not gone through all that crap that we went through in 2015, from 2015 to 2017,
Right.
and done all that work we did, all that therapy, we would not be together today. Our relationship would not have survived COVID with 100%. We both said that the other day when we were talking. Had we not done all that therapy and found ways to appreciate ourselves, appreciate one another, embrace self-care, have patience, have the ability to say, I can't do that right now. I'm not in the headspace, or I'm just having an off day. I need grace. All of those tools that we developed in the last few years, thank God.
Right.
You know, like, it was either God, the universe, whatever you want to believe. Thank God we went through all that, because had we not, we would not be here today the way we are, in the relationship that we're in, with the support system that we have, and just being able to talk to our friends and family members who are having a really difficult time, and being that voice of reason isn't the right phrase, but you know, that voice of support and acceptance, and saying, it's okay to feel like you have no idea what the hell is happening.
Right.
That's all right. And please go see a therapist or go do group support.
Right. Or just keep talking, or just keep sharing. Yeah.
And talk to the people who aren't like negative life suckers. Talk to people who can accept you and give you healthy support.
Well, and I think that's interesting too. And I think that other people that have gone through similar losses, maybe not as drastic as what you experienced, but I think people, I know I feel it sometimes. There's like a guilt of saying, look at all the positives that came from such a negative experience, and being thankful for the person that you are because of those terrible experiences that I would never ever wish on anyone else, right? And so that's what I get from you.
100%.
That's what I feel like. It's like you look back and you're like, no, I don't want my grandparents to pass. I don't want my parents to pass. But because they did, I am now a stronger
this person.
I am self-aware. I have a wonderful relationship. And it's like, that's a hard thing. And sometimes there's that guilt that comes with it. I don't know about you, but that's how I feel. And sometimes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And it's also, you look back at yourself, your past self, and you're like, oh God, but I forget where I heard this phrase from originally, but I have stolen it and making it my own. We are doing the best we can with the level of awareness that we currently have.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you can do.
Right.
And you can apply that to any situation. You can apply that to your personal relationships, your jobs, a teacher, an employer. Everyone is doing the best they can with the level of awareness they currently have. When you learn something more, then you can do better. But right now, in this situation that you're in this moment, you can only do your best with the amount of information, with the level of experience you have. And that's why so many older people seem wise.
Right.
It's not that they have more knowledge, it's just that they have more experience. They have a greater level of awareness than, a 19-year-old or a 30-year-old.
With where you are here now, 2022, and a more awareness, right? What would you, if you could go back to Christin of August 2015 or even March 2017, what would you say to yourself?
I don't know. It's easy to be like, I would tell myself this or I'd tell myself that, but I wouldn't. And the reason is because you have to go through it in order to actually learn from it.
Yep. Fair point.
There's nothing that I could say to myself to take away the pain that I was going to experience. So that's off the table. And any lessons that I learned, I have to learn by going through them. Yeah. It's the only thing I would say is you're doing it.
Yep.
You're doing a good job.
Honor.
Keep going. Yeah. I mean, it's like, if you're going through hell, don't stop.
Right. Keep
going. Just keep going. You're going through it.
Hopefully you'll get out.
Right. At least, or die trying something. But stopping, you're definitely not going to get out.
I feel like the takeaway from your story is honestly that self-awareness into seeking something that can help, that works for you, is really the takeaway of like someone that has just, like, say they're listening to this and they just lost their parent tragically or suddenly or not suddenly. I would say from my perspective that it's honor whatever you're feeling, however you're feeling on whatever day that is.
Yes.
And take the steps when you're ready to take the steps, and not on someone else's timetable or not what your Aunt Lucy says or whatever it is. It's
no.
Honor yourself. What would you say? Something similar?
Yeah, I would say my two big takeaways would be, first and foremost, and if this is all you can do, do it. Radically accept where you are, who you are, what you're feeling. Embrace that acceptance. If it's terrible and awful, It's terrible and awful. Accept that. If you're sad, accept that you're sad. If you're pissed off, accept that I am pissed.
Right.
This is ridiculous. I can't
Right.
believe this is happening. And accept that. Accept your feelings, accept who you are, accept where you are in that situation.
I love
And
that.
and that's okay. Those feelings are they're normal and they're fine. I think I get caught up in trying to push those aside, and it's all it is delaying the inevitable.
It'll come back.
Yeah. So that's number one, radical acceptance. And then the second one, I'm going to steal from Mr. Rogers, look for the helpers. And that's people who, well, not just people, resources who are actually helpful. When you're ready, look for the helpers. Look for a support group, look for a therapist, look for an online forum of people who are going through crap similar to you. Podcasts. Oh my God, I can't tell you how much I have learned about myself and my relationships listening to podcasts talking about couples relationships or parenting or owning a small business, whatever you are involved in that's causing you stress. Look for a podcast about it. Listen to some other people's stories, even Instagram accounts, wherever you can find something where it's a person telling their story and they are in a boat similar to yours, because trust me, you are not alone. Whatever it is you're going through, someone has been through something similar before. Find someone who's been in that boat, who's telling their story. Sometimes just hearing another person's story without advice is enough to be like, okay, I'm not alone.
Right.
And just feeling the I'm not alone is such a huge step away from feeling like you're alone and you're going through it all by yourself. Just knowing that you're not alone and that someone else has gone through it before is sometimes all the help you need.
Yeah.
You know? So accept yourself and look for the helpers.
When you're in those dark spots, it's like, it's hard to imagine that anyone else could ever feel the way you're feeling at that moment in time. But to your point, it's unfortunately and fortunately, a lot of people have been in that very same boat and have experienced the things that are feeling like they're killing you. And I agree. Yeah. You find someone that has, like you and I, we don't have the same story, but we have similar experiences, and I can relate to so much of the pieces of content that you're sharing with us, like in your story and how you've approached it, that it creates that community, right? Like our connection before was nothing related to this, you know, like our connection was totally just related to our teaching and those pieces. But now I feel like we're in a different community together because we have similar but different experiences, and just hearing your stories is like, I wish I had heard that, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But to your point, find that. I love the radical acceptance, because I think that's so important, especially now with the social media culture and people feeling as if they have to be a particular way or approach something in a particular way or be like somebody else. And if we can just honor who we are at whatever moment in time that we are, that good, bad, different, whatever it is what it is. With more experiences, we can change that if it's something that we don't desire to be. But at that moment, that's all it is.
But in order to change, you have to accept where you are.
Right.
You can't change if you're pretending like you're someone else.
Right.
You have to start at a foundation of truth.
And I agree 100%. To your point about, like you mentioned, when you experience something icky, you want to just be done with that.
Mm-hmm. But
if you try too hard to just push that away, it's going to come back. It's not gone.
Yeah. It's sitting there. It's haunting you. Yeah. No. It's just sitting there. It's following you around. It hasn't gone away. Mm-mm. You're just pretending like it's not there. And that's not the same. That's not the same as embracing it and processing it. I think my third, I would have one, the first two are big boulders of takeaways. And my third little baby takeaway would be silly.
Yeah.
Do something that's stupid, that's fun, that's dumb. I love to knit.
Yeah, find something that brings joy. Whatever it is.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter what it is. Color, draw cartoon books, sing a song with your kids, post a stupid video, do something that makes you laugh, that brings some levity into your life. And if you can't figure it out, go find a group of school kids and watch them play at the playground.
Mm-hmm.
They make stuff up. Laugh. Find a reason to laugh. Watch some cat videos. That's my 5-year-old's favorite thing to do right now.
And
is look
probably
up cat
yours.
videos on YouTube.
To be fair.
I don't hate it.
Well, I think that the world needs more people like you, because I think you're real and you are authentic, and you do find the things that are fun and silly. I'm not going to say the other S word. And you find ways to just be a real human being that is facing things that people may never experience, in the same boat, but they can still learn from. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time to share this story. It's so impactful. And I'm glad we got to talk a little bit about the pros of mental health and therapy and all those things. So thank you for being a guest on this.
Thank you so much, Matt. And I love what you're doing. I like this project. I think it's important. And I think everyone has their crap.
Mm-hmm.
And it's finding healthy ways to say that, that's normal. It's okay. Let's stop pretending that everything is all peachy all the time, because it's not. Right. It's not, So let's be honest and open with ourselves and with others, and kind of come together on that front.
Yeah, I think the stories that everyone's sharing on this show they're so different, but also have this through line of like life happens, to your point of you can't make all the plans. Life has its own plan, and sometimes they align and sometimes they don't.
You can make them.
That's true. But is it worth your time?
No. As a mother to now a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, those plans go out the window so quick.
But they teach you, and
they do.
They add to your experiences. So I will say thank you for being a part of this. I very much appreciate you and what you've shared, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thanks.
You've just listened to the Life Shift podcast. Please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. See you next time.